All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Inner Circle coaching call. I'm Greg Luther, excited to be with you here today. We've got a big one today, what everybody's been worried about, what's going on with all the changes with the NAR ruling. So we'll be talking a lot about that today. Do me a favor in the chat, change that little blue button to everyone. Let us know the city and state that you're watching from. We've got a lot of you logging in here today. I figured this would be a high attendance call because we're in August. It's August now, and the way you sell real estate, the way you charge your fees, the way you're able to get paid as a licensee has now changed. Well, I should say it's in the process of changing. I know EXP went ahead and made the change effective August 1st, which is today, but officially, nationwide, it's August 17th. So just around the corner here, and you need to start having that conversation. Frankly, a lot of you have been having that conversation already. So we're going to talk a lot about that. So again, check in the chat. We've got a lot of you here from all over the country. I always like kind of looking and seeing who's on the call. When you check in the chat, I can see if you're right here in my area, if you're from California, from Texas, from Florida, from Minnesota, from Pennsylvania. Glad to see everybody on board here. You'll want to take some notes here today. And my goal is to do a better job than your board of realtors is doing. Because from all of the agents I talk to, today is my platinum coaching day. So I talk to all my platinum one-on-one agents. And every one of them has told me that our board is having more meetings than they've ever had before concerning these changes. And it does nothing but confuse the hell out of everybody, and they leave pissed off. Everybody's taking this side or that side. How is there even a side to begin with? So this is creating mass confusion, mass hysteria, mass bury your head in the sand until, well, I guess I don't have to worry about it yet. Well, that day is here. It's time for you to get real focused on how you're going to start selling because the consumers are certainly aware of it, and you need to be aware of it too. This is really the biggest issue, that so many agents are facing now. It's creating a lot of confusion for them, and the confused mind says no. So if you don't know how to sell in this new environment, you're not going to do anything. You're going to unknowingly or subconsciously pull your punches, not run ads, not call leads, because it's going to be a different way if you actually secure an appointment. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this. Tons of changes happening. You can't put the commission in the MLS anymore. Okay, that has nothing to do with us. We're not worried about that. That field is gone. Okay, no big deal. The big deal for us is we have to have a buyer agreement, basically an employment agreement, before you can even show one house. You have to have an exclusive agreement that says, here's how we work, here's how I will get paid, and here's how much I will get paid. And you have to do that before you show a house. That's the big thing we're talking about here today. Now, before we jump into that, let me give a disclaimer. I'm not an attorney. I'm not your attorney. I don't represent your brokerage, and I don't represent your state in any way. Go get professionals to assist you in all of this stuff. What I'm telling you is how I would handle things, provided you get the blessing. Today, we're going to talk about sales. We're going to talk about how you talk to these people. We're going to talk about having a compelling offer so they do want to sign with you. So you can be compliant, but you can also be convincing. See, the problem is that it almost feels like now we're back in real estate college and school, where all they do is teach you how not to get sued. And you better be afraid because you're going to get sued. They're not teaching you how to present this stuff. They're not teaching you how to sell. They're teaching you how to stay out of jail, basically, right? So all it's doing is it's creating a lot of fear, but it's not showing. If you teach them how to do it, they're not going to mess up. What they're trying to do is show you what not to do. Well, show me what to do, and I'll do the right thing, and I'll have the confidence I need to move forward. So with that, the disclaimer is check with your attorney, your broker, your whatever. Do it the way that they say. Now, it is not different in your area because this is a national rule. So you can't say, well, here in Pennsylvania, nope, same rule. It's the same rule for absolutely everybody. It is not different in your state than it is anywhere else. So I want to make sure we get that part of it clear first. But again, what I'm giving you today is my sales training, not legal advice, my sales training on how you need to be speaking with people concerning these issues, because they are issues and they are coming up. If you're meeting with buyers, they're saying, well, I already know I can negotiate your fee. I did my own research at home and I found that that fee is negotiable. I printed it off right here. I have screenshots right here. How are you handling that? Nobody's teaching you how to handle that. They're teaching you to say, yep, it is negotiable. Okay, now what? So what I want to do today is we might even role play a little bit. I don't know. I want to kind of put us in that position as though we're with a buyer, or put us in that position as though we're with a seller, and really have that objection come up and see what's the very best response that we can have to be convincing, compelling, stay on their side of the fence so we keep that relationship going with them. It doesn't feel like we're butting heads. And you ultimately get that deal. So that's ultimately going to be our goal for the day today. Let me ask you guys over in the chat, while the chat is still on, have you had any issues come up? In a very short synopsis, let me know what that is. The buyer said he doesn't want to pay, or if the seller doesn't pay, he's not paying me anything, or the seller said he's not paying a buyer's agent. Any very short synopsis of that. Have you had anything like that happen? And later, once we get to the Q&A, maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll kind of get into what the general public is saying, because it's going to get worse. Like when this date starts, I guarantee you it's going to be on the news. I can promise you it's going to be on the news. And that news is going to kind of put their antenna up a little more. So what we're finding is, if they've checked it out, much like realtors, I mean, you're a professional real estate agent, it's confusing. So if a buyer or a seller looks it up, it's confusing. And what we're going to find is, as this changes a little bit, it's not going to be the norm. It's real easy for you to say, well, I don't have to learn all this stuff because it's just going to be business as usual. I can assure you it's already not that way. For those that are going on dozens of appointments, they're seeing this happen more often than not. So I was just going to kind of look through here and see what we're finding here. Definitely the confusion side. Seller is unwilling to pay the buyer's commission and will not pay 3% on the sell side either. No issues. I started talking to my clients right away. The agent saying, what lawsuits, right? That's a big problem. I see Laura said that. A lot of agents are. They're just completely oblivious as to what's going on. The buyer says he needs credit for closing costs. He doesn't have the money to close. I had one seller not offer a buyer's commission, ended up paying the buyer commission the buyer included in the offer. The seller lowered their price by making the compensation zero, right? Yeah, I'll do a price reduction, but I'm not paying commissions. That's coming up. So Willie, I appreciate you letting us know that. The seller lowered their price to that zero. At an open house, a buyer said, I'm not paying a commission because I'm representing myself. You realtors make too much money. I would say, that's from Cynthia. I would say that's the general consensus of the world. I'll represent myself. I can pull my own comps. I can see how much the seller paid. I can find out what school district it's in. I'm using a standard form contract where it says how long for the home inspection. I'll put 7. Like, yeah, I'm protecting myself. I'm using a fill in the blank contract. Buyer did not want to pay because he said he did not have enough funds for everything. That's a big one. Thank you, Anthony, for that. Buyer said they don't have extra money to pay any portion of my commission. Don't you think everybody's going to say that? Like they're going, I'm sorry, I don't have any extra money. I can't afford it. Because myself, I can't afford it if I can find a way to get rid of it. Right? I'm sorry, I just don't feel that I need to pay that. Buyer, here's one from Carol Lee Gilman. Buyer did not want to pay the difference between what the seller offered, which was only 2, and the agreement that says 3. Think of that. Let's say you follow the rules. You get the exclusive contract. The buyer agrees to 3%, but then the seller's only paying 2. Now you got a problem. Now, if the seller pays 1, you're earning less. This downward pressure is definitely going to affect the average commission value that we're all getting here. One of my sellers just wants to offer a flat dollar amount, not a percentage of sale. That's from Cherie. Buyers say they don't want to pay, and that should be what the seller is handling. Then you have to go through the process of explaining it is changed, and now the seller pays their agent and the buyer pays their agent. We're seeing that a lot. And as Sherry said here, you got to educate your clients. So I want to cover that today. We're going to go through all of that. Let me go through a couple more here. How do you let buyers agents know if the seller is still willing to pay a buyer's agent's fee? Maryland has already has a buyer agreement that mostly addresses this. I haven't had any problems. The problem is not the agreement. The problem is the buyer and seller perception, right? What they believe they do or don't have to do. I spoke to an agent this morning that the buyer went through the entire contract and said, I want to cross out these words. I want to cross out these words. If you buy at any time within the next 180 days, something that I've shown you, your protection clause, he wants to write that out. I'm willing to pay you, but I want to take out the word at closing. I'm negotiating. If you're not willing for me to pay you later, I'm not doing it. So we have to cross out the word at closing. Buyer agrees to pay 3%, but not at closing. I just agree to pay you 3%. I'll do payments or something. I don't have the money right now. Guys, this is where we're going. You see in the chat dozens and dozens and dozens of examples of what's and it's not different in your freaking area. What are you talking? You think they don't have the news there? You think the buyers, they don't care about commission there? The sellers, they're just cool doing whatever? You need to meet with more people because this is what's actually happening. A lot of people, and I saw Sherry saying this here. I had a seller with a pool that wanted to wait until after the rules to list their home in order to not have to pay a buyer agent fee. I can't tell you how many agents I've talked to that they're meeting sellers, and the sellers are like, I'm going to wait till August so I don't have to pay the buyer's agent. I'll save more money. A lot of them are doing this. A listing agent marketing 3.5% listing fee where he pays the buyer's agent compensation out of the 3.5%. Guess how much he's paying the buyer's agent? If the house doesn't appraise above offer price, that includes buyer agent commission, he will not have the money. Seller wants to completely control his commission lower than any time before in my area, and he's an attorney on an expensive home. Okay, so we're seeing an awful lot of these. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you guys are welcome to look through the chat there. You're seeing an awful lot of confusion in the marketplace and wild, wild west. Because all of a sudden, they believe this particular job, this particular employee works for free. They believe like it would almost be like the government saying, hourly wages are now negotiable. So all the employers, Taco Bell, McDonald's, Walmart, they're like, oh yeah, it's negotiable. I don't want to pay you. Okay, dude, then I'm not working. Well, I'm only going to pay you $1.50. Then I'm not. Commissions have always been negotiable. Pay has always been negotiable. But now that this is top of mind presence, it's coming up and they believe they can negotiate absolutely everything, including the terms of the contract and crossing out words like when they would have to pay you. So I can promise you, if you go on 10 appointments, you're going to have 10, one of them won't say a word. Hey, whatever you say, that's what we're going to do. 2 or 3 of them are going to say, I don't want to pay you at all. 2 or 3 of them are going to say, if the seller can't pay the money, I don't have the money. That's the only way I'm going to be able to buy. If you can't get the seller to pay, I can't pay you. You're going to have all of these things come up. So you need to be well-versed on how you're going to handle this. Now, by the way, Nicole, if we can print out this chat when we're done, that's going to be helpful for me too, to kind of see everything that everybody's saying, because we've got dozens and dozens of examples here.
Yep,
so,
sure thing.
So what I wanted to do is kind of talk a little bit about this, because they're going to need to pay you. Like, your agreement needs to be very specific. It needs to be for a specific amount of time, the extension of the, or the length of the contract, and it has to very specifically say a number. Be clear about this. You cannot say 3% or whatever the seller is willing to pay. You cannot say 2.5% negotiable. It can't be cloudy. It has to be a very clear percentage or dollar number. not negotiable. You're negotiating now. So you have to be clear about that. It can't be whatever the seller is willing to pay me. You can't do that. It's not, you are not inside the guidelines of the new rule. Okay. Now, as we get into this might as well be a freaking political debate, because there's going to be a lot of people that get mad because they're standing on, I don't have to have this signed. I can do 3%. We don't want to go that route. It's the same as having a board of realtors meeting. Everybody leaves pissed off and thinking it was a complete waste of their time and nobody agrees on anything. That is going to be the general marketplace. If the agents themselves can't agree, imagine we're trying to get buyers and sellers to do this when they do this one time every 7 years. They simply think it's going to be free. That's it. And what happens is the buyer believes I don't have to pay a commission. And because I'm not paying a commission, that means all these home prices are finally going to be lower. But the seller believes I don't have to pay that commission, which saves me a lot of money. So I'm going to net more money from my high sales price. No seller is like, oh, I don't have to pay their 3%. Oh, well, just reduce the price 3 then. Nobody believes that. So we have a difference of opinion from the buyer to the seller, and we have real estate agents that can't agree on anything at all. That's the reality of where we're at today. So the last thing we need to do is have a meeting from the National Association of Realtors or your local board of realtors or a local attorney that comes in and they want to tell you the laws. Here's the freaking law. Get an agreement signed before you show a home. That's it. Okay. Well, how do I do that now? But, well, you just have to have it signed or you can't show the home. That's an attorney telling you that. That's the NAR or the Board of Realtors telling you that. Yeah, but we got to have a little tact in order to follow that rule. What do I say to them? How do I conquer those objections? Give me some sales training on how I can make that work. So I want you to think about that for a minute. Nicole, do we still have the chat on here?
Yes, the chat's on.
Okay. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to ask you guys, and there's no right or wrong answer, but I want to show you an example here. Please participate in this because we're all going to learn from this. Today, we're actually learning in the chat. So I want you to participate in this. I am a buyer and I want to buy a house and you're going to show me that property. So I pull up and I see you're already in the driveway. I get out and I come over and I shake your hand. Hi, I'm Greg. I'm looking to buy this house here. Thanks so much for showing the home to me. What do you say from there? Type it out. What do you say from there? Hi, Greg. Blank. You're not going to say, let's go take a look at the home. You're not going to do any of that. You have to address the fact that we need a signed contract before you can unlock the door. What do you say? I need a signed contract. Are you familiar with the new law? What are we going to say to have the right languaging for that buyer to say, sure, I'll pay you $17,000. Now unlock the door. What are we going to say? Now, you might need to do this beforehand on the phone. It's going to be tougher on the phone. You know why? They'll call someone else. This rule has made us appear to be more dispensable and replaceable. I'll just call someone else. If you won't do it for cheap, someone else will. I'll find a realtor that will do it for $1,500 flat fee. And by the way, over the next few weeks, you will see agents that are advertising flat fee, $1,500 will represent your best interest. Okay. So let's see what we have here. Before we get started, I need you to sign my buyer's rep agreement and my IABS before we go inside. Okay. Well, I don't want to sign anything. That's what they're going to say. And we'll role play all of this out. I'd prefer to have a buyer consult and go over everything. The commission we specified on the buyer's agreement will be the max commission if the seller is willing to pay 3%, but your agreement has 2.5%. You can only receive 2.5%. That is correct. Whatever your agreement says, if you say you're willing to represent them for $1,500 and that seller is paying 2%, you're not allowed to take it. It's 2% in buyer allowed closing costs or concessions, your contract can't be adjusted to more. That would go towards the rest of the buyer's closing costs. You can't say 1,500 or more if the seller's giving it. That is specifically against your rule. Your number is your number. You can't negotiate it up just because the seller was offering more. That's the seller is offering buyer closing costs, which means it would go towards their appraisal, their underwriting fee, all of that stuff. So you're exactly right there. Before we move forward, we need to go over this new commission agreement. Okay. Commission, I just want to see the house. I'm not buying anything. I'm just looking. We're not in a big hurry, right? Those are the things we're going to hear. So we have to know how to address that. You're exactly right here. Nice meeting you, Greg. If you're familiar with new laws, you know that I can only show you the house if we have a signed buyer agreement. And here it is. Plain and simple, right? In order for me to show you this property, I need you to sign a 7-day agreement. Okay. I'm happy to show you the home, but we need to have an agreement before showing the home. I'll need you to sign this buyer agreement to protect both of us. Okay. What are you protecting me from? Laws have changed. I now need this signed. I would say, thank you for executing the agreement that I sent. Are you ready to see the home? I would have approached this subject beforehand. And by the way, I think it'll be a lot tougher over the phone than it will be face-to-face. Okay, particularly once you get them to the home, because they want to see the home a lot more when they're already there. They can't just call someone else and make another appointment. I'm guessing you've heard about the lawsuit and maybe heard about the paperwork that needs to be signed, no matter which realtor you use, in order to show the house. Let's take a minute to go over it. Pretty good. So glad you want to see this home. New laws require us to have this form signed before we can show it. Well, what's the form say? It says you're going to pay me $17,000 if you buy a house. It says you're going to pay me 3%. I'm going to be the one representing you. Okay. So you guys can see, and there's a lot of them here. I still have 53 that I haven't even looked at. So you can see, and a lot of you saying you're already seeing $500 flat fees. You're already seeing $1,500 flat fee. That is happening, and it will continue to happen. And though those people will fail, those agents are going to go bankrupt. They are taking business from you. The deal will close. Okay, so it is happening. Now, what I want to do is go over some examples of how you need to give this presentation to them based on the way I would do it. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I have nothing prepared for this. I'm going to use the rectal extraction method for anything that's ever thrown at me, because you should not be using scripts. You should not know what you want to say, but they never say the line exactly the right way for this to fit. So then you get confused. You just need to know your stuff. That's all there is to it. You have to know your stuff. So what we would do is, let's say we go out there, and I'm going to not watch the chat now so we can try and role play this out and get everybody's opinion on this. I don't think you should say, hey, are you familiar with the new laws? I need you to sign this or I can't show you the home. Because if you do that takeaway, the vast majority of them are going to sign. This is literally a contract. It is a contract where they're agreeing to pay $17,000 and they haven't even agreed to buy a house yet. So this is going to be a little hairy for you in trying to present it that way. I would present it in a way that I'm representing them, not that I'm selling them before they even know who I am. Because literally, they haven't known you for 120 seconds. And you're saying, work with me exclusively. So let's role play this out for a minute. Let me just kind of push through the, and actually, Nicole, would you mind kind of being that buyer? Can we role play?
Sorry, I was muted. I'm saying yes. Yeah, absolutely. Did you
Okay.
want me to turn off the chat in the meantime?
Yeah, you can turn off the chat for now.
Okay. And
Are
I
you
am.
pre-approved? Are you working with a buyer's agent yet? Do you have anybody to help you when the time, like all that crap? We're not doing any of that stuff. So let's say we actually get to the home, and you be the buyer, I'll be the agent. Okay. So, hey, Nicole, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Good, good. So what I want to do, I've got us set up from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock here. I want to make sure we go over our new forms here. I'm sure you've seen they had the whole lawsuit and everything. We have to have all this signed. What I'd like to do, though, is save you a little bit of money for if you do decide to buy a home. Would that be okay for you?
Yeah, that sounds okay.
Okay. Well, let me tell you a little bit about how this works. So, I always consider myself to be a very good negotiator. So, I want to show you a little bit about how commission structure works, how this agreement works. They're making everybody sign before we take a look at the home, but also show you how I can get some fees paid for you here. You may be familiar with the fact that we have to disclose our commission in advance, and all of that has to be in writing and all of that. I get a 3% fee. Now, what I'd like to do with your permission is if I ever do find you a house, rather than me saying you have to pay me 3%, I'd like you to give me permission to try and negotiate for the seller to pay for that or build it into the fee or anything that keeps it from coming out of your pocket. Now, I do charge that fee. We'll have the agreement here and everything else. But again, being a great negotiator, I'd love to try and build that in as well as any other closing costs. I'm sure you're aware it costs a lot of money to buy a house. There's appraisal fees, underwriting fees. The freaking title company wants to charge you fees. I try to build all of that in so it's less money for you and your family out of pocket. Would that be okay for you if we can find a home and we can work that out?
Yeah, it sounds okay, but there's a lot of stuff that you said there for commissions and all that. But yeah, I mean, I want to hear more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Ultimately, the way it works is everybody discloses their fees now. They had all the lawsuits and everything else. I'm sure you've seen it on the internet. Everybody has to disclose their fees in advance. It says, if we ever do work together, here's how it works. Now, part of that is they also require we have an exclusive buyer's agreement. I'll be honest with you, I do a lot of stuff for my buyers. I'm not just willing to accept any contract that comes in or any buyer that comes in. So I'm not willing to sign a long-term contract with a buyer until we know if we like each other. Frankly, I'm sure you're the same way. Most generally, they want you to sign a 6-month agreement with a buyer and a buyer's agent. I just met you. I don't know if I want to get married yet. So I'm hoping it's okay with you, but I won't do anything longer than 5 days. This agreement right here says that if you buy a home in the next 5 days, you're going to use me as your agent. Now, we can extend that if we both agree. I'm just not comfortable going any longer than that. And I hope that would be okay with you as well. Now, side note, I could say one day, I could say this expires at midnight. If you don't buy this home, you don't have to buy anything from me. So I can do that however I want. But what I'm doing is I'm building value to show that number one, I'm going to negotiate on their behalf. Yes, you have to pay those fees, but I'm going to try to build it into the house. I don't know if that's going to happen. You're going to have to pay the difference if that doesn't happen. There are times that there's not enough money to pay a commission, as there's always been. And the listing agent and the buyer's agent got to figure out, should we reduce our commissions or whatever, because we can't meet what's on the listing contract for the commission amount. So we all got to take a little lower. That stuff may happen in the future. But what I want to do is when I meet with Nicole, I want to disclose that there is a contract. I want to disclose exactly what my fee is and say it out loud so they know exactly what it is. But I'm going to wrap that around the fact that I'd like to try and save them a little money out of pocket by negotiating and building that into the transaction. I might be able to get the seller to pay for it, even if we have to tack it onto the house and you finance it. I'd rather you pay 6 or 7% on it than to pay it all right now. Totally up to you if you want to do that, but I want to disclose this up front. Now, I also don't want to sign a long-term agreement with you. I generally just do a 2-day agreement. That basically, you said you're not in a hurry. This says if you buy a home today or tomorrow, you have to use me. If not, this is gone. But we have to have an agreement. I simply do short-term agreements. I hope that's okay with you. So can you guys see how this is a little bit different? I should say a lot different in the way you're presenting what you have to present, but you're putting a little sugar on it. You're showing that you are representing them. Because the other option is to say, well, Nicole, thanks for meeting me. I'm sure you saw the new laws here. We have to have an agreement that tells you what I charge. This says that you have to work with me and you have to pay me 2.5%. I'll need you to sign here or I can't show you the home. That's the slimiest feel we've ever had in real estate, and we've never had to experience that before. That's like the ultimate takeaway. If you don't pay me, I'm not working with you. It just doesn't feel right. I know it's what we have to do, but I think we need to put a little sugar on it. Nicole, you can turn the chat back on. I'd like to kind of see everybody's thoughts on this, as to what your thoughts are here. And again, that's first round. We do it again, it sounds a little better. We do it again, it sounds a little better. We find the things that we need to address. But I think this is how you start creating the right languaging to get the results that you're looking for. I want to stay on their side of the fence. And all of these rules are designed to create conflict between the agent and the buyer or seller. It's designed for them to hate you and think you're overpaid and try and negotiate against you. So, what I want to do is I want to try to show that I am representing them. I am good at what I do. I'm not willing to work with you exclusively. I hope you're okay. I only do 2-day agreements. If we like each other, we'll extend. Guys, the fact is, if you did a 6-month agreement, they're going to bail in 2 days if they don't like you anyway. They're going to demand that they be let out of that contract. And frankly, if they don't like you, you should let them out. You did something wrong. So I think this is the best way to start with a short-term agreement, disclose what your full fee is, but also disclose that you'd like to try and save them a little bit of money, and you're going to try to build that in or have the seller pay that fee on their behalf. You're also going to try and have them pay your appraisal fee, your underwriting fee. See, we use this term closing costs. They don't know what that means. That sounds like bullshit fees. So I'm going to say something like, it's expensive to buy a house. You got your realtor representation, you got title insurance, you've got a home warranty, you've got an appraisal, you have deed preparation. They got to file the deed downtown. There's all of these fees you have to pay. I prefer that my clients not pay everything out of pocket. So with your permission, I'd like to try and negotiate. If we ever do find a home that works for you, it's probably not even going to be this one. But if we find a home that works for you, I'd like to try and have all of that built in. So do you guys see how I'm staying on their side of the fence? That's so much better than them saying, I'm not paying you 3. If you won't do it at 1, I'm not doing it at all. Okay. So let me see where we're at here. I'm just looking through some of the thoughts. What are your guys' thoughts on this, by the way? Do you like that a lot better than just saying sign this or I'm not showing the home? Because that's what the attorneys are saying.
Can I chime in, Greg?
Uh-huh.
And counter question a couple things that I know would have like come up because obviously that was pretty seamless, but
Yeah,
you're
and I was going fast and, I mean, we're not
yeah.
face to face and all that.
But I mean, obviously in there, and I'm gonna turn the so we can see each other.
Yeah.
Obviously in that demonstration, it was seamless, but and I said, okay, well, I'm open to hearing about it. So I, as the buyer, had not committed to anything at that point yet. When it would be my turn to speak, some of my questions would be, okay, well, what if you can't negotiate them in with the seller? Then how does your fee structure work? That would be a common question that would come up. Or is, okay, 5 days, are we really going to get the job done to potentially find a home in 5 days? That would be another objection. So maybe giving some of your thoughts on how to, reposition those answers, still going forward in the process.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, you have to get paid in any way that you can. And the seller's not always going to be able to pay it. I saw another one over here while you were asking that question. I was looking at another question here. What if they think about it for 6 days and then they come back? You don't have that agreement. Well, you have a protection period, right? So, if I have a 1-day agreement, but there's a 3-month protection period that says if you do come back to buy any home that I showed you, I am procuring calls and you have to pay me, right? So that is totally up to your broker or your city or your however your state is handling forms. That is your form that you need to understand. There is no form we're allowed to use. I'm not going to create contracts for people. That's not legal. So you have to use your brokerage approved forms, whether the state provides that or otherwise. But there should be a protection clause in there, just like there is on I can do a 3-day listing agreement. But if a buyer that I showed that home comes back and buys it 3 months later, I have a protection period on that. Okay. Nicole, what was your question again? That first question you had?
So it was two parts. One would be, okay, like that all sounds great how you said it, but what happens if you can't negotiate the sellers to cover the fee you mentioned? So what happens then?
Yeah, so that's going to be true with all of your closing costs. There's no difference of your appraisal fee, your title company fee, your realtor fee. All of those fees are things that you're going to be responsible for, and you're responsible in writing. You've signed contracts, purchase contracts, buyer agency contracts. You've signed all of those things that you agree to that. What we would do is if the seller's not willing to pay it, before I would ever allow you to sign that contract, I'm going to say, look, here's what your total costs are going to be. Do you want to buy this home, or do we need to find a home that better fits your needs? If the seller's not willing to pay it, fine. Let's go find a home that they will, because you don't have the money otherwise, unless you do have the money. But we would address that before we have them sign that final counteroffer. They're never going to sign the counteroffer and not know that they were going to need money at closing. You should never put yourself or that client in that position. This is the whole disclosure thing. So if the buyer's like, well, I'll sign it, but I'm telling you now, if they don't pay the 3%, I don't have it. Okay, fine. Let's see if we can get it paid. A lot of times you're going to be able to get that paid. But if you can't, hey, the seller's countered. They're only willing to pay 1. We've got a 2% deficiency here. Is there any way you guys can come up with it? Or do we just not qualify to buy this home? It takes this much money to buy this home, and you guys may not be qualified to buy it. So let's go over here. Well, you should do it at 1%. I'm not negotiating my fee because you don't have the money to pay my fee. No attorney, no doctor, no professional would be willing to do that. Well, then I'm going to call somebody else. You're not buying this house. So it won't get, if you know what you're doing, it's not going to get nasty like that. It's never going to happen. It's just, hey, we've got the money to close or we don't. Like, no different than if the home was 600,000 and the buyer's only approved to 575. It's very simple. If they won't go to 575, you don't qualify to buy this home because you don't have the lending that you need to do it. Well, this home is going to require $5,000 in repairs for you to get. If you don't have the 5,000, you don't qualify to buy this home. So if the seller is not willing to pay those fees, they simply don't qualify to buy it. And we're not going to have them sign that purchase contract. Okay. Now, ultimately, what happens if we get a lower offer and they can't come to terms, or let's say there's a home inspection and the hot water tank goes out, seller won't pay, the buyer won't pay. Sometimes we have to negotiate our commissions from what we had in writing. You know why? Because commissions are negotiable. They're negotiable right up to the damn closing table. So you have to be confident and comfortable in the way you're presenting this. But I think the most important thing is you stay on the right side of the fence with them. Because, by the way, we're going to cover sellers in a minute too. Sellers are like, I'm not paying the buyer. They can use their own. If they're using an agent, they can hire their own agent. That's happening. So there is no perfect way to do this. But what I'd like to do is show you a way to stay on the right side of the fence and show that you are representing them. And I think just being honest and open about this and asking it, would you be okay with me trying to do it this way? What I customarily do with my clients is I try and negotiate to have it built into the deal. Would that be okay with you? Because, by the way they look at it, that's how it was to begin with. It was built into the deal. The seller was paying it to the buyers or to the listing agent. The listing agent paid the buyer brokerage, but it was all in one package. Okay. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this. Let's see. I saw somebody say it was way too long. It was about a minute and a half. I think our average buyer presentation's 40 minutes, but I think that was about a minute and a half. Dude, that's brilliant. I knew you'd come up with something cool. Good approach. It's a conversation. It's perfect. Very good. Love the USP. Yes, way better than what I would have said. That's why we're here. We want to get our languaging down, and maybe we'll come up with something better. If I do it again, it's going to sound better. We'll keep reviewing it and practicing and role playing this so that it sounds comfortable, confident, and most importantly, stay away from that slimy, firm, you got to do this or I'm not working with you. It's uncomfortable to buy a house that way. And I don't think the attorneys and the local realtor association and everything else, all they're worried about is keeping you out of jail. I don't think they're realizing that they're actually going to hurt home ownership. They're going to hurt a buyer's comfortableness of buying a home. It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel like they're being taken advantage of. We're hearing all the time, you guys make too much money anyway. We're hearing this happen all the time. Okay. So Sharon said here, I like the way we weave in what's in it for me, because that's what they want. Okay. Nicole, anything else you see in here on this?
Well, the other one that, like I mentioned, would be okay, 5 days sounds great, but what do you think we can really accomplish in those 5 days? Like, do you think we could find something? Because that seems so short when people have like overwhelmed with searching houses. So
Yeah.
what would
Yeah,
your
and I
answer?
understand your concern because frankly, I wouldn't expect anybody to buy a home in 5 days. I mean, buying a home is a process, not an event. So I don't do any high pressure or anything like that. But, to be frank with you, like I was telling you, I do a lot of stuff for my buyers when I do represent them. If I'm in a long-term agreement with someone, I'm investing my own money into marketing. Let me tell you a little bit about the inside scoop here. Like this house you see right here, this one's listed. You found it on Zillow. Everybody else found it on Zillow. You can see on there how many views they've had, thousands and thousands of views. A lot of the buyers that I represent are actually getting access before they get listed. So what I do is I have a marketing campaign called the Perfect Home Finder, where you tell me what you're looking for, clear down to area, price, even neighborhood that you want. My marketing team will go out and find you unlisted homes. So you're the first one to know about them. There's no photos, there's no sign in the yard, but that's on the people that I represent. So if I did a long-term agreement here, that's at my premium, that's my 3.5% fee, but it gets you better access to better homes and frankly eliminates the listing side of things too. And you can get a better deal on homes in many cases. I'm not willing to do that yet. We're just here to show the home. I don't want to give you a whole sales pitch and show you why there's better options and all that. But I want you to know that that's available. Now, that's a premium version that we offer right now. If you buy this home in the next 2 days, you owe me a commission. That's all there is to it. Yes, there's a better way for you to buy properties, and we can look at that if we need to. So that's how I would handle that, right? Like, I mean, it's giving a presentation on there's a difference between agents and what they do and what they charge. I do a lot more that nobody else does. You're not getting a showing agent. You're not getting somebody to unlock the freaking door for you. That's a bad way to buy a house. So you need to be able to present that to them in a confident way. Okay. Now I know you guys will go back and you'll want to review this. Somebody's going to say, well, can you give me that script? It ain't a script. You got to know how to talk to people. Review this a few times and just say it yourself. But you physically, I don't care if you say it to your cat, you physically need to say this out loud so you can get your languaging down. Now, of course, in real life, it's going to be a slower feel. I'm going to give them a second for pauses and uh huh. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Yeah. And then what we do, I'm going to slow it down and it's going to feel more natural. But I'm trying to show you everything you want to say and the way that you say it. What you don't want to do, because by the way, now that I've done that, go back up in the chat. Look at what everyone was saying. That ain't going to work. It's not. You're going to say that buyer wasn't motivated. They weren't serious. They didn't want to sign any. They didn't value my time. They said I should be working for free. It's because you're not presenting it the right way. I shouldn't pay you if you don't give me a good reason to pay you. I shouldn't pay you just because you're here and you have the little magic key that opens the door. I shouldn't pay you $15,000 for that. So I want you to build value around what you're doing. A lot of agents are asking for the menu of services. Have a buyer menu of services, good, better, or best. Which of these do you want? The bottom one might be one day showing if you buy this home, right? That might be the bottom level that you have. But these are the kind of conversations that you need to be having here. Okay. So when you meet with that buyer, you don't want to say something like, well, you got to sign this. It's a new law. You got to sign it or I can't show the home. It's just not going to go well. And if they do sign it, they're so turned off, they can't be emotionally tied to this home. Well, I ain't buying this damn home just to give him $17,000. They'll find a reason not to buy the home. They're in the wrong mindset. We've talked about this a lot in sales copy and print. When you mail something to someone, you want them to feel excited when they get it. I don't want to get too far off track, but it's important that you get this because you got to have them in the right frame of mind when you're showing a home. You look at like if you're married, if you're a guy and you're married and shoes come in the mail, you get a box in the mail and you can clearly see it's women's shoes and your wife's been saying she can't wait for these shoes to show up. Don't you dare open that box or you will be divorced because that is her own gift. She knows what's in it. She knows what color it is. She knows what brand it's in, but it is a present. And you will be in just as much trouble as if you go to Christmas morning and a 7-year-old, you're like, I'm going to open all your presents for you. He would be pissed if you did that. When they open that box, they're going to be ecstatic. I want you to think about their mental mindset. And if there's a little trinket in there, a little stress ball or a gift or a bow for her hair or anything that's in there, just some unannounced gift, it'd make, oh, wow, look what they get. This is cool. That feeling you get. You want them to be in that mindset. If you don't have them in that mindset, they're in the other mindset, right? Which is the sales, the upset mindset. So when you're showing the home, I want them to feel like this is a gift, it's an opportunity, it's great. Maybe we can find an even better home. This guy's going to represent me. I want them in a state of joy, not a state of being taken advantage of or sales or anything like that. How they open the box matters. I know this is going to freak you guys out, and I should just avoid what I'm getting ready to say, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So many of you know that I own a bunch of racehorses, including some stallions that breed. We literally mail semen in a sealed container that's been under the microscope and tested, and it's 1 billion sperm cells and all that. We mail it to wherever it's being bred to the mares. We call it sex by FedEx, right? So we send them the cooled, chilled container. In that container, inside the box, we have 3 pieces of candy. So here's the sealed container and 3 pieces of candy. We're the only ones that do it. And every time I see somebody, hey, I'm breeding to your horse, I've got one named Catch the Fire. I'm breeding to Catch the Fire. That was so cool. When I got the package, there was 3 pieces of candy. What a cool, just a cool little touch. You know, it reminded me one time I had a great deli sandwich, and when I opened it up, there was a pickle there. Just that pickle just made the sandwich for me. It's the exact same thing here. Okay. Now, if it doesn't freak you out about the horse semen, you realize that there's a gift in there that you didn't realize was going to happen. This is what I want to do when I'm showing a home. I want to show them there's something better. There's a bigger opportunity. You now have an advantage of working with me that you don't have to sit on Zillow seeing if a new home is listed. I want them to be in the right frame of mind. So when you are selling, when you're creating sales copy, which is speaking sales copy, you want to be building that excitement as though they're opening a present. You don't want them to have that feeling of opening bills. Damn, I got to open this thing up. How much is the electric bill? Whatever it is, that ain't good because it's something they don't want to pay. It's money leaving them, not an opportunity coming to them. Do you guys see the difference? Opening bills, it's going to be bad news no matter what, compared to opening a package, something they wanted, something they ordered. Because I'm telling you right now, both sides of the equation, but especially women, I don't care if they ordered toilet paper and shampoo on Amazon. When it comes, they want to open it like, oh, wow, look at that toilet paper. Like it just feels like it's something they got. They want to open the damn box. So you want to kind of package your setup the same way so they feel like this is an opportunity. They're excited and they lean in. They're like, oh, tell me more about that. Well, how do you get access to those? Well, how do I do that? How do we work with you exclusively then? You were saying you got to agree to accept me or I got to sign a contract. How do I get access to that? That's best. That's the top level of my menu of services. That's having a real realtor to represent your best interest. That's what that is. So this is how you need to be giving your sales pitch. I'm trying to keep up with the chat. It shows me how many I haven't read yet, and I'm now 99 plus. So we might as well not even use the chat. We'll have to put it over in the Q&A. But this is the type of link. There is no exact, Greg is right. I want you to do a better job at presenting what we have to present, but put some sugar on it so it sounds a little better, and they will lean in and want to work with you, not sign it because they have to. A forced, arranged marriage is not a happy marriage. You guys agree with that? There has to be a little bit of attraction here. Nicole, other thoughts on this as we keep moving forward?
Yeah, a lot of questions or thoughts are coming in on how you sweeten that up. So somebody said, so the candy analogy or that unboxing analogy, as Greg just said, that's how do you sweeten that up so that it softens the blow of the stuff that you don't want them to pay attention to, because you're making it sound better and you're giving them value in that offer. So now with that perfect home finder and everything else. Some people are interested in hearing the seller side. So how do you handle it from the seller perspective of
Yeah.
making them account for those fees or doing it that way?
Yeah, and I think that I want to I want to clarify one of the words that you just used there. It's not that we're trying to sweeten it up so they don't pay attention to it. They were told about it, but I
Yep.
literally don't want them to pay attention to it. I don't want them to spend 5 minutes talking about the fee. I just want to build value around the fee. Okay. They know what the fee is. It's been disclosed. We're not saying don't pay attention to it like we're hiding it. Don't spend time on it because you see the value here. So if I go to buy a candy bar, how much is this? 99 cents. Okay, good. I'm not paying attention to the price, but I know what the price is. But if I'm like, I wonder if I should pay that. Is it really worth that? Can I get a better deal somewhere else? Well, I don't know. I really shouldn't have the calories. If I'm doing that, I'm paying attention to it. So I want to make sure you guys get that there. Yes, the seller side is going to be even more difficult for everybody. So this is going to be important for you to get because sellers believe now they've got you over a barrel. They're going to net more money. They've just cut their fees in half because all you realtors made too much money anyway. You were illegal in making me pay the buyer agent's fee, which they weren't doing anyway. This is the number one problem we're seeing is that sellers are saying, I'm not paying that. And I'm not paying you 3 because commissions are negotiable and the 6% and 3 was never supposed to be that way. And that was illegal. So we're going to start with, I'm only paying 3. Now let's negotiate that. And then you end up at 1.5 or you end up at 2. It's just a bad deal all the way around. So when they say, hey, that all that marketing sounds good, because remember, we're still doing the bulletproof listing presentation. We're still doing it in the 5 chapters. We're giving a presentation in order. And then when we get to that fee structure, if they say, well, I'm not paying a buyer's agent's fee, that's fine. We'll talk about commission here in just a second. You don't have to pay you don't have to pay me either. What do you think would happen if you didn't pay me? I'd walk out. Right. So maybe you'll pay me and I'm just going to tell 5,000 other agents that you don't want them to work for you. That's fine too. I don't care about that. Well, their buyer should pay that's fine. We'll talk about that. I just want to know who you would like me to invite to your house that you're willing to compensate them for helping you out. That's it. You may tell me you're not willing to pay me anything. Guess what? I walk out. We might tell 5,000 realtors you're not willing to pay them anything. Guess what they do? Go to where they can make more money. You remember how you were reading all that stuff online that said commissions are negotiable? You know how you could get more for your home? Offer 4% to the buyer's agent. You know what would work even better? If you offered them 5. You know what would work even better? If you offered them 5% in a Cadillac. Have you ever seen new construction that doesn't need to pay anybody anything? You know what they do? They pay the agents more money. Their commissions are negotiable so much that they could sell it on their own. They have a full-time sales team that works for them with no commission, and they still choose to pay realtors and pay them a premium. You know why? Because they know that commissions are negotiable. Why wouldn't they just say, I'm only paying you 1. I don't have to pay anything. I get other people to, because they know you have the buyer, you control the market. So we'll get into pricing here, but I just want to make sure you understand this is a capitalistic world. The more you pay somebody, the more they're going to do for you. As an example, commissions are negotiable. Be careful because I'm a really good negotiator. You're probably better off negotiating with me than against me. I'm actually a very well-trained negotiator. So I want to negotiate for you. not against you. Can we be a team in the way that we're putting this together so you can net as much as possible today? Because that's what I'm looking for. I want to be on your side of the fence, not against you. That's not going to end well for anybody. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, this is the type of language that I would use so they understand I'm here to help them, not to hurt them. I'm here to be on their side. Like, who in the hell would negotiate against their own attorney? Well, I want to work with you, but if you don't do this, other attorney will do it for $50 an hour. You're saying 100. That's ridiculous. If you're not willing to do it for, you don't want to negotiate against me. I'm trying to win on your behalf. That's what I'm doing here. I'm going to bat for you. So this is the type of language that you want to use. Now, with that, let me pull up. I think, Nicole, you sent me that file.
Yes, I did.
Here we go. I wanted to pull this up because you guys can download this on the member site. This is, you're welcome to utilize this, and I'm going to share it with you. This explains your fees. You can slide it over to them and show them how it works with the new rules that are in place. Now, with that, I will also still use the menu of services. Okay, so I wouldn't change that at all. Let me zoom out where you guys can see this, and then I'll share my screen. Maybe share screen. Here we go. And this is on the member site. You guys can download this, but it's basically real estate fees explained. Now, let me give you some, and I'll zoom in on it, but I'll give you guys some preface on this. Don't use anything your broker hasn't agreed to. Don't use anything that's not legal and compliant and everything else. I don't want to hear some crap about how your area is different, because all of the rules we're talking about here apply to every single licensed real estate agent in the United States of America. It is not different in your area. Okay. These rules apply to everybody. Now, what you see in front of you is written. You can change the wording in this, but it's written as though the brokerage says, here's how our fee structure works. You can change it to say, you, Greg Luther of ABC Realty, here's how my fee structure works. Because your broker may say, I don't want you putting this out there, so they think everybody charges this. So you can change it as you want, but I'm giving you a template that you can start to use to further explain this. Just get the wording right so it makes sense for you and it makes sense for your broker. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it. And I know we've covered this before, but I want to really spend some time on this because, frankly, every agent in America should be using this. And this message, this inner circle call, I think it would be helpful for you guys to realize that this inner circle call, if I could get it to every realtor in your town, you'd have an easier life. If we could get this inner circle coaching call to every single realtor in your MLS, we would all be working on the same page. We're not conspiring. We're just showing this is how we properly disclose things. We're not setting any fees. You can charge whatever you want. You can do the $1,000 if you want, but we all know how to handle this the right way instead of having board of realtor meetings talking about what you have to do, and then everybody leaves pissed off and confused. That's not helping anyone. So here's what it says. Imagine you slide this over to the seller. And again, get the wording right. It doesn't have to come from your brokerage. It can come from you. But here's what it says. Professional real estate fees are negotiable. We started by disclosing. There is no specific set fee or common commission structure amongst brokers in our area. Different offices charge different fees. It's up to each company's broker to set the fees their office requires as payment for their marketing and realty services. Our fees. Our office charges 6% of the sales price to sell your property. That amount is paid at closing, only if the home is successfully sold. When we list your home for sale, we personally invest all of the money for digital photography, target marketing, online and offline exposure, and more. You do not need to reimburse us for those charges. And if your home isn't sold, you don't have to pay anything. Here's how we allocate the fees. 3% paid to ABC Realty as the listing broker. That's me. 3% paid to the buyer broker, which may be ABC Realty or another broker. Compensating a buyer's agent. The total fee listed above is paid to ABC Realty. That's me. They then pay your agent, me, and also pay the agent or brokerage that brings a buyer. Paying a buyer broker is not mandatory. Can I pay less? You can pay less than 6% if we lower the compensation paid to a buyer's broker. You can offer the buyer's broker any amount you want and can even offer $0. If you choose to pay the other agent zero, the buyer must pay their own agent. While this may seem fair to you, know that this may limit the buyers who can afford your home. Some buyers have enough money to close with a mortgage, but may not have the money to pay an agent. These buyers may decide not to make an offer on your home due to the additional expense. We recommend offering X%, but the choice is ultimately up to you. And obviously, these percentages are totally, you can make it 3, 5, 10, 12, whatever you want. The buyer may still ask, no matter what you choose to pay or not pay, a buyer may still ask you to contribute money to offset their buyer's broker fee. Think of this as a form of buyer concessions where you, the seller, are asked to help cover some of the buyer's closing costs. Seller's net proceeds sheet. When we bring you an offer, your agent will also explain your closing cost with that offer and will show you an approximate net proceeds number for consideration. Okay? Now, again, change anything you don't like in this as long as your broker is okay with it. If you think I can't do that, we can't say that, this isn't compliant with, okay, here's a better template than what the hell you're using right now, and you can change it accordingly. If you charge 5, if you charge 7, if you say you can pay less than X dollars, if you say we charge 5, 6, or 7, depending on the service that you want, you can change this however you want. But it fully discloses that they could pay zero. It fully discloses that commissions are negotiable. It fully discloses that there's multiple brokers paid. And most importantly, it fully discloses that if you do not pay these fees, your home is more expensive for that buyer than competing homes at the same price. If your neighbor is willing to pay it, that home is $12,000 cheaper than your home at the same price. Does that make sense? So this is available, Nicole. I'm sure everybody's going to ask, where do I find this on the website? Where is this located?
I just dropped it in the chat. So this will be paired with today's call. It's currently already on the site under morning meeting nuggets because Greg did this early on when this all started happening as a YouTube weekly. So you can grab it there. And I'll also get it under the main resources section. And that sub menu will be called Fees Explained.
Yep. And I did see a question in the chat there. I'll go over to Q&A. That's really the appropriate place to ask questions. If you put it in the chat, it's probably going to get buried and won't get answered. So you'll want to put it in the Q&A. But you will likely have sellers that say, well, what if the buyer calls you directly? Same thing. It's exactly the same way. I charge for anybody that I represent. Any buyer that contacts me, I'm going to let them know how I work as well, but it would be exactly the same. The last thing you'd want to do is have a difference of commissions based on who or which brokerage or which agent is helping the situation there. Okay. That buyer does need to be represented. Hopefully they're going to be represented, but the commission structure is not going to change. If you're, the question you're specifically asking me is, am I willing to do twice the work for half the money? No, I'm not. If you have 2 homes, I'm not going to list them for 1 home at half the money. It's not going to happen. If you have 2 clients, I'm not going to work with 2 clients for half the money. I'm just not going to do it. If you have 2 building developments, I'm going to charge you for each of those subdivisions. I'm not willing to work for half price if that's what you're asking me. Okay. And we also want to ensure that the deal actually goes through. If the buyer's trying to do it on their own or they're unrepresented or whatever, that's fine, but they don't even know where to find a contract. And if they print a contract from the internet, it's probably going to screw you as the homeowner. Let's be real here. All right. Let's see. What else do we have? Nicole, anything I missed there?
No,
Two
and
people
people are
saying they don't see
asking.
the link, and I don't
Yeah,
see the link either.
we didn't drop a link to it, guys. Greg has it on his screen here, and I put in the chat where you'll be able to find this. So
Oh,
again,
you
it's
put
under,
in the chat where you'll find it. Where will you
yeah,
find it? Just speak it because they'll never find it in the chat.
yeah. So again, it's currently located under morning meeting nuggets because this was released on a weekly YouTube meeting with you guys. And then it will pair with today's coaching call. So in the coaching call section, and then I'll add it to the resources main section for fees explained. So that way you could download it. So there's no link here, but it's currently on the site, and then we'll pair it with today's call.
Yeah, and like I say, I mean, I want to be, let me unshare this, but I want to be clear with everyone. Like, it really, really bothers me that NAR and all of the local associations and everything else, that they're not helping agents with the most trying time we've ever had. I mean, this is truly creating anger and disappointment and untrustworthiness between the client and the agent. What we've always tried to do is be on their side and be a trusted advisor. And I think that the way this is being presented, it does everything but that. It actually makes us have to be a slimy salesperson. If you don't do that, if you don't pay me, I'm not going to show you the, like, it's just a bad way to go. And I think if we can do a good job of teaching all of the agents how to present this in a kind way, in a helpful way, in a representative, like we're here to represent you. If we can do that the right way, I really feel like it's going to make a difference. That's why I say it would be so helpful if every agent in America could just watch this video and just say, look, here's how you present it to them, right? I'm going to try and negotiate on your behalf. The new rule doesn't let the seller pre-negotiate or have in there, we're willing to pay you 3%. We can't even disclose how much that is. So I like to try and represent you by asking for the seller to pay some of those fees. I don't know that that will happen. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Well, what if the seller's not willing to pay? Then maybe that's not the home that you qualify for. We'll find another home that better fits your needs based on the amount of money you have available to buy a home. If you don't have enough money to buy a home, we got to find another home. That's all there is to it. No different than, well, I qualify for this single home. Why can't I buy the condo? Because the condo has an additional condo fee and you don't qualify for that number. So while the purchase price might seem the same, you don't qualify for this condo because there's additional fees that you would have to pay out of pocket or that you would have to pay every single month. So it's just explaining while on their side of the fence rather than having that contentious well, I don't want to pay that. Well, you have to pay it. That's going to end badly. I don't care what it is. If you're at the grocery store, that's going to happen. Okay. But very simply, it's creating more distrust between the clients and the agents. It's making them feel like we've been overpaid. It's making them feel like like I've always told everybody, yes, commissions are negotiable. Be careful who you're negotiating against. I can build so much damn value. I will make you pay me 7% if you interview 5 other guys that would do it for 2. I promise you'll choose me. Would you like to negotiate? Would you like me to stack so much value in here? You tell your friends that if they would pay me 7%, they could have the same shit you're getting. Commissions are negotiable. Bring me to the table and say, the better I do, the more money I can make. Watch how well I do for you. I think you have to have a difference in mindset of us being a commodity realtor, of what you do for a living that someone else could. If someone else could do it, then you could easily be replaced for less money. You will never win that battle if you charge 1%. You will never win that battle. What you have to do is build value around what you're doing. Cost is only a factor in the absence of value. You should say that in every meeting. Cost is only a factor in the absence of value. If you're really, really struggling in life right now, do you think if you just had a death in the family, do you want a hug or do you want a deluxe hug? Damn, I need a deluxe hug, right? That's where I wrap my leg around your leg or so. I don't know. That's the koala bear on your back. The
Oh boy.
starfish. Yeah. But, not the little side, shoulder pat thing. Oh, it's going to be okay. That's not what you need right now. Let's see. Other things here. Let's go to the Q&A section. Nicole, you want to kind of rattle off a couple of them here so I can, because I think there's going to be 100 agents on here that have questions you should have, but you haven't been in that position yet. So I think you're going to learn a lot from some of these questions. Nicole, you want to ask a few going through here?
Sure. What if buyers feel that they can save commission by working with the listing agent?
Then you haven't built enough value around what you do, and they actually might be able to. Because in this case, like if the listing agent is only getting 3% and there's nothing else negotiated, they actually can save money by not using you. So build value around what you do. But that's a very fair fear to have because it's real. Like it's not a fake fear, that's real.
And a follow up from that same agent said that they were told by EXP that they can no longer have dual representation. Maybe it's just a New York thing. So you guys probably have to check on all of that.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that side of it because that's your whole laws and rules and everything else. I think it would be a really smart move. This is right off the cuff here, rectal extraction method. I think it would be a really smart move to make it totally illegal for any agent to represent two sides. I say that financially. I don't say that for any moral reason. I say that if they can't go to the listing agent, all of us can represent one party. If they can't cut us out of the deal, if they're not allowed to go to someone else to save the commission, I think it makes it a level playing field for everyone. But as that first agent's question here, what if they go to the listing agent, cut me out of the deal? If it were illegal, we wouldn't even have to face it. So I'm not going to talk about legal, moral, ethical, all of that stuff as to why we should be able to do two or not two or whatever. I think you can represent two parties. If you've ever had two kids and they got in a fight, which one did you represent? Did you ever say, no, screw you, he should hit you again because I'm representing him today? No, you represent both. You can represent both. Like that, you're not trying to screw someone, you're trying to be fair. That's what we're trying to do here. But it would be easier if we weren't allowed to do dual agency anymore. That'd make it a lot easier on all agents.
Somebody said, could we share this document with other agents' brokerages? Can we post this on our own website, send it to our clients prior to arrival? She just doesn't want to get sued or be out of compliance. She loves it, but wants to be sure.
Yeah, I mean, check with your broker, obviously. But yeah, I think all of this information should be, well, like we have to teach our community how we're going to work together. We really do. We all have to work together to make this happen instead of the bickering back and forth and all that stuff. If we can just find a way to be a leader and show everyone like this is how it needs to work. I wish we had 1.3 million real estate agents on this call right now because now we all go out there and we know how to work together and represent the client's best interest and handle this stuff with everyone. I've never posted one of our coaching calls on YouTube, but I might post it on YouTube just because everybody needs to see this. It would help you as an agent, you as an inner circle member. It would help you if all of the agents in your town knew this is the best way to operate and how to talk to these people so it becomes the norm. If you don't have to worry about somebody not signing it and showing the home or doing something illegal, it would be so much better. It would be so much better if everybody played on the same field. Other questions, and you can delete them as you're going through here.
Okay. A few people asking if they can, you'd mentioned about me printing off the chat, and now people are asking, can they actually get a chat copy of this today, which is something we haven't done, but I think probably would be
Not a bad
helpful.
idea. Yeah,
All
you'll
right,
have to
guys.
decipher through it, but there's some good questions and comments and language and that type of thing. So what I'll do is I'll save this, and I think it prints off in an Excel file or something. I'll save it and we'll load it to the member site so you can see the chat as well.
Perfect. Let's see. We have some long ones in here. A couple comments. Tell the seller or buyer it's a nice way. In a nice way, would you work for free in your occupation? That was Tim and Lee.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I say, I would just say, hey, if you don't want to pay anybody else, that doesn't hurt me. I'm still getting paid. But what would happen if you said you didn't want to pay me today? I would leave. Pay me and then I'll go tell 5,000 people, you won't pay them. Guess what they'll do? It's the same way. And just like Tim said, what if your boss said, hey, now that I know that payroll is negotiable, I'm not paying you anything. Then I leave. Then I just won't work for you. That's all. Okay.
Somebody said with regarding to like FSBO appointments, because obviously we stress working with FSBOs in the foundational model, how would you handle this type of conversation with them?
I need something more specific, but it's the same way. I mean, just because they tried to sell it on their own, when I meet with a FSBO, they tried to sell it on their own and they didn't sell. Normal client. Nothing has changed that way. So it's going to be a normal presentation.
Let's see. Would it work if when you met them, you also had additional properties to look at, which match the home you're looking at, saying, I wanted to make sure your time was best spent with me. And so I took the initiative to set up those two additional homes that I felt you might also like. Would that be something like the candy or the gift?
You can, I would say now, let me tell you in advance, these are listed houses. I don't know if you guys are cool. These are listed homes. What does that make them think? What the hell else is there? Oh, I'm glad you asked. We're writing sales copy when we're presenting. We're writing sales copy when we're showing homes. That's not to say listed homes are bad, but there's other options. Only if you have a realtor that's representing you exclusively. Okay? Because that's what representing them is, by the way.
So this is broken up. Some people are saying that it's not until August 17th that the commission is not allowed to be put in the MLS. Is that true?
Some MLSs have already changed. EXP, I believe, changed worldwide or nationwide today, August 1st. But everybody has to be compliant no later than the 17th. So over the next 2 weeks, you're going to be seeing that. As an example, if you show a home tonight and you don't put how your commission structure works in there, you're going to be screwed. Right? Unless your MLS still shows the 3% or 2%, whatever that is. And a few people are saying California already changed across the board.
What are your thoughts on with the commission not being in the MLS? Questions coming in on calling the seller's agent, having that conversation between agents before you even do anything with the buyers for that home. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, total pain in the ass, but probably required. I mean, that's no different than, hey, I know you said you got 15 offers on the home, but my buyer needs $5,000 in closing costs. Do you think it would be possible for your seller to pay $5,000 in closing costs? Well, it would be the same thing here. Hey, I get a 2.5% buyer broker fee. My buyer's going to need help on that. Do you think we can build that in? It would be the same thing. Oh yeah, the seller's already agreed to two. Like, if they say that, great. Okay, what else?
Uh, some curiosity. I guess there's a box on some documents if anyone's having problems with buyers having to pay commissions and check this box. So I mean, that would be an open conversation thing. That came up a few times. Planning to text a broker to broker agreement when showing the service, when the showing gets set up. What are your thoughts on that?
What was it again?
They plan to text a broker to broker agreement when the showing service sets up the showing.
Okay. Yeah, you can.
What
If
about
your broker is okay with you co-oping and all that. And again, you guys get your legal advice that way, but that's totally fine.
how would you handle this with open houses?
Open houses, my understanding is they are excluded from the signature of the exclusive agreement. So open houses, you wouldn't have to worry about it.
Let's see.
Now that kind of leans into, and I don't want to get us sidetracked here, but it kind of leans into one way I got showings a long time ago when I used to do a lot of sign calls was I put a sign up that said open house every day, call for hours. And they could call me at 2 o'clock and say, yeah, I see you're having an open house today. What time is that open house? Oh yeah, let me see. I don't have it in front of me. What would work for you? And I can go put an open house sign out there and show the house, right? Like the open house might be at 5 o'clock today. It might be at 7 o'clock today. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go open the house. I can put a sign out there that says open house while I'm in there. But again, do what makes sense for you.
Stuart asked, what are your thoughts on putting together a few minute long video to send out first? I've heard that only about 30% of people even know about the settlement. So bringing it up on the hood of the car may create crazy confusion. What are your thoughts of video ahead of time?
You can. It's just going to it's going to drastically raise the number of people that don't show. Because if I got to sign something when I get there, I'm not going to sign it. Try it. I don't know until it's tested because I haven't tested it. But I think you will have a lot more people that just don't show up, and you've completely wasted your time.
Let's see. Where is this other one? Some of these are long. Somebody said, can I hang a yard sign? We love buyers. It's not linked to the MLS.
I don't think that's going to do anything.
To expand more on the FISBO question, if we bring a buyer to buy a FISBO, how can we handle that?
Same way you always have. You just get a commission agreement. You would get the commission agreement before you bring them.
Let's see. Somebody said, what about buyers presentations? But Greg, you kind of outlined that when you did the little role play of how to seed that in. What are your thoughts on a bigger buyer presentation at this point? Or again, people are saying a menu of services for buyers. What are some of those like good, better, bests that you would pinpoint?
Yeah, I think you should. I think that obviously everybody offers different things, right? So I could give you a template, but the template's going to look just like the listing one. So the answer would be to build your menu of services based on what you offer to buyer's agents, good, better, best, right? So I think that's the best way to do it, and you can do that today. You don't need me to do it because I don't know what you're offering. I'm just going to put placeholders in there, and you're going to change them anyway. So you already have placeholders in there. Just change it to a buyer one.
Thoughts on what to say to an unrepresented buyer when showing them one of our own listings?
They have to have a signed contract beforehand. I'm not sure if there's a exclusion if it is your listing. I don't believe there is. I certainly hope there's not. But they still have to sign the form because there should be nobody unrepresented. I wouldn't show a home to an unrepresented party. I just wouldn't do it. I'm not willing to do that. I represent the seller. I don't represent the buyer. I'm not willing to do extra work for free.
This one came up very early and everything, so it might have already been covered, but I've seen it a few times. Making sure the buyer has funds available for both the agent fee, closing costs, and down payments. So now they have to be like pre-approved for all of these things. What are your thoughts on that topic?
Well, don't worry about it now because it affects your income. You should have always been making sure they have money to close. They need down payment, they need appraisal, they need, all closing costs. So now all of a sudden it matters that you want to check it? That doesn't make sense. But yes, I mean, that's just due diligence. That's what you're supposed to do. Make sure they know here's your net sheet, your buyer's estimated cost of closing here. Here's how much money you're going to need. I would always do that. You should have always been doing that anyway. Generally, the lender did it. But like, here's how much money you're going to need to close. And that will include your buyer broker fee if I can't negotiate it into the deal. Because by the way, your closing costs are nothing out of pocket if I can build it into the fee or into the purchase price.
Leslie said, as a primary listing agent, I made a sticky note with all of my listings and their payable commissions to buyer agents in anticipation of all the calls coming in since Arizona changed their MLS today. Do you recommend listing agents do anything else like a broker to broker agreement or make the buyer's agents do that? Any advice on just making that a easier process?
Yeah, I don't think it matters what the seller is willing to pay anyway. That doesn't matter because the buyer needs what they need and they're going to write it in the offer. So I just wanted to find out if the seller is paying anything. Well, first of all, did the seller give you permission to disclose that number? Because if not, you're about to lose your license. I know they told you how much it was. Did they tell you you can tell others how much it is? Because they might have also said listed at 600, but I'll take 585. If they didn't give you permission to tell people that, you're going to lose your license. So just because they said they will pay 2%, did they give you permission to tell others that they will pay 2%? And what happens if they say, well, we need 3? Write it in the contract. We'll try and make it work. So your answer should always be, I don't know. It's negotiable. Write it in. If my seller says, I'm not willing to pay anything, that buyer better pay their own buyer commission. Okay, write it in the contract. We'll try. It's negotiable. My seller says he's not paying anything, but you can try. Well, my buyer needs my broker fee paid and some closing cost fee. My seller said he's not paying anything, but you can try. It's negotiable. Right? All they wanted us to focus on in this whole damn lawsuit is that it's negotiable. All we're going to say all the time is it's negotiable. What's your commission? It's negotiable. So you have to really get down to, am I legal and compliant? Are my disclosure rules followed the right way? And then even if the seller did only agree to 2, if they need 3, they're going to write in 3. And you say yes, or you counteroffer and say the seller won't go over 2. I think the seller would pay 5 and buy him a Corvette if you give him 300,000 over the asking price. So that shit is negotiable. It doesn't matter what's being offered. What matters is what's being negotiated. So even if you have a sticky note that says my seller is only willing to pay 1.5, doesn't matter. The buyer's going to write an offer at what they want. Doesn't matter what the seller. I'm not calling to find out what they're offering. Why does that matter? If well, does that mean if I'm showing 5 homes that I need to call 5 listing agents and find out what they're offering? Why does it matter? You already have an agreement on how much you're getting paid, and that's how much you need paid. Why does it matter what the seller wants? So you write in whatever that total is.
A couple questions.
My understanding is commissions are now becoming part of the contract, because if it's not in the contract, it doesn't exist. It used to be, it couldn't be part of the contract. It used to be, you can't have your negotiation of commission have anything to do with the buyer's purchase price, because now there's a conflict of interest there. That's the way it used to work. Damn, let's talk to some attorneys about what they've done. What's ultimately happened? 2 things. Number one, the attorneys have created a lot of freaking work for themselves, because we're going to have more lawsuits than we've ever had in history. Everybody's going to sue everybody. Everybody's going to hate the shit that's happening. We're all going to say commissions screwed everyone, and it's all going to be bad experiences. That's number one. And number 2, we're getting that much closer to this country getting towards socialism. That's the 2 things that have happened from all of this. Everybody is going to be mad. Everybody is going to have disheartened feelings as to how they were treated in a relationship when it comes to buying and selling a home. Everybody is going to lose. Home prices ain't coming down. Homes are not going to become more affordable. Frankly, they're going to be more expensive. It now costs you an extra 2% to buy a house. It's going to make it that much easier for the corporate buyers to buy all the homes and force us into a renter's nation. All of this stuff is designed for some reason that's damn sure not in the best interest of realtors or sellers or buyers. It's in the best interest of attorneys and anybody else that's got a whole bunch of money. My personal opinion, but I do believe that's kind of where it's going here. We're switching from capitalism to socialism. This is the way you must do it. We're taking this, like all of this, you're going to work for free. You're going to work for a set fee. Maybe you should be paid an hourly wage. All of this stuff that you've been hearing, it's all designed to mess with it, right? To screw it all up and make everybody feel like they're being screwed and being a victim. It's another way for somebody to feel like a victim in America. And if you've met with sellers and buyers, you've seen this happen. You guys have been making too much. You've been screwing us forever. You can see it in the chats everywhere, guys. This is designed to make people feel like a victim. Everything is. Everything is. Look at what happened with the Olympics this morning. It's the exact same thing. The woman, it was a boxing match of females. The female, I think she dropped out in 17 seconds because she was being hit by a man that says it's a woman. Everybody is having issues with how we're messing with stuff, how we're changing everything up. So if we have an agreement on how we're all going to work and we can have a level playing field, that's going to be fine. But if we don't, it's going to be a mess. You saw in the chat here, people saying $500 flat fee, I'll represent you as a buyer's agent. $1,500 flat fee, I'll represent you as a buyer's agent. I know those people won't last, but they will get closings. They will take business from you. They're not doing what I do. They're not offering what I offer to buyers with a representation agreement. My honest opinion, and this is me, this is not you, and I'm not coaching you that you should do this. If I were licensed today, I would be chomping at the bit because I know I'm going to get 4 to 5% representing buyers from this point forward. You know why? Because commissions are negotiable. Because they can go get shit for representation or they can get me. I can get them access. I can get them better deals. I'm a very good negotiator. I can build in for the seller to pay it. I can show how the seller, if I use my perfect home finder program, I can show the seller why they don't have to pay a listing agent. They can afford to pay my buyer broker fee on behalf of the buyer because I'm a very good negotiator. That's the term negotiation. Instead of just saying it like it's a catchphrase, show that you're actually good. Show me what you do that someone else can't do. Nicole, other questions that we have there? I feel like I'm getting sidetracked, but I think it's important for us to know, like, what the hell is happening here.
They all want you to run for president. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I mean, like I say, it doesn't, why would you call the listing agent and ask them how much the seller is offering? It ain't what my buyer needs. You could also say, well, how much is the seller listing the home at? That ain't what I'm offering. I don't care that the seller wants 650 and I don't care that they're offering 2%. I care what my buyer is willing to do. My buyer is willing to give 645 and they need 4% in closing costs and concessions. Doesn't matter what they're offering. Might be helpful to know, to give you a general idea, but I still have a shortage. And when they counter back, now I can go to my buyer and I can say, okay, they're only willing to pay this. Do you have the difference or do we not qualify for this home? That's my personal opinion. Again, these are just opinions on today's call. Get professionals to help you. What else you got?
And we have to watch our time because we have the cash offer call coming up. The document that we're sending you guys, there's some questions in here. Yes, it's all editable. So somebody asked a question, will this be revised for California or will this be revised for Texas? You could take this document, you put it in front of your, brokers, check all legality, like Greg said, and then you can make those revisions and rewrite it. It is an editable Word document, again, under resources, fees explained. It's already up there. I just put it up there while Greg was talking, and then it will be paired with today's coaching call.
Okay, very good. Very good. I was just going through some of the chat. Chat's been crazy here today. Appreciate everybody's opinion here. I think that it's so important to get this part right. Maybe what I'll do is we might actually cut some of this out and post it on YouTube, and I'll give everybody a link that you could share it with other agents in your area. I think if we're all talking the right way and negotiating the right way, we can actually build value. We can step up what we do as agents. We can fix this public perception of what it is that we do and really make them feel like I wouldn't go anywhere but with you. I would only use you because you do these things that nobody else will do. You can't say crap like I answer my phone and communication's important and I know the area like the back of my hand and all the crap that every agent says. Build real value. Cost is only a factor in the absence of value. So if we build enough, I can earn any fee I want. Well, this guy will do it at $1,500. He won't do it. He won't do this at any price because he don't know how. He can't do it at 1,500. He can't do it for 150%. He doesn't do this. So if I can build value around what I do, I win. Okay. It's my secret little trick that everybody loves. Nicole, anything else you have there? I know we've got the cash offer call for those of you that are cash offer members. That starts at 4 o'clock, which is 28 minutes from now. I need to take a quick break. That call doesn't take long. It's only going to be 20 minutes or so. Just an update on what all is going on and what you need to be doing on the cash offer program, which is crushing it right now. I think the cash offer program will likely take off bigger than ever before because, frankly, people are going to be pissed off at agents and they don't want to pay commissions anymore. So they're going to find every way they can to, he wouldn't negotiate his commission. So I'm calling a cash investor to see if I can cut out all the commission. I think we'll get more calls. I think we'll do better with the cash offer program than ever before. beginning August 17th. So those of you that are members with the cash offer program, make sure you're on that call. I think it will be helpful for you. I will try to print the chat for everybody. I'll try and get this on a YouTube page for everybody to share with other agents that you know. And I think this is this is why you're an Inner Circle member. This is why you follow our page, follow our channels, do all of this stuff, because as these things change, we're going to give you real work. Yes, you got to have it signed. Okay, that's the legal side. How do I get it signed? How do I not make them mad? How do I not have them walking through the homes? I can't believe now I got to pay $17,000 if I buy that. I don't even like this house. Look, I don't like the floor plan. I'm not buying. They're in the wrong frame of mind if we do it the way that we're being advised. So my goal with today's training is to show you that if you do speak this out loud, literally in your own house, tell your spouse, hey, I'm going to look like an idiot for a minute, but I got to go to the mirror and I got to say this out loud to see if I can make it sound better, that by them hiring me, I'm going to represent their best interests. I'm going to do a better job of negotiating. I'll try to get the seller to pay all of their costs for them, not me, appraisal, underwriting fee, all of that stuff. And I'm not willing to work with you exclusively because I do so much stuff for my clients. I'm not willing to do that yet. Let's just try a couple days and see if we like each other. Let's date for a couple of days. That way I can call you tomorrow. We can talk a little bit about what I could do if we do decide to work together long term. We'll do it the right way rather than on the freaking hood of a car. Does that sound good? I think that's the best way to go. It's a lot better than what most are doing. Sorry if we didn't get to everybody's questions here. I know we've been running a little behind, but anything else that you have, send us an email. We'll try and help you along the way. I'm sure we'll have more calls on this as well, and I hope that it is helpful for you. Just get your language down. Start using this with the sellers, the real estate fees explained. Get it approved by your broker. Change everything you need to. Don't use that as the final product. Use it as a template. Okay? Nicole, anything else from you?
No, that's it. I was behind the scenes hidden today. You guys just got Greg for most of it, and just my voice of I don't know what my voice is. It's not voice of God, voice of questions and role play. But yeah, we'll get this on the site by later today, guys. It'll be under the coaching call section Q3 for 2024. So make sure you check that out. And then the document will be paired there and we'll be good to go.
Yep. And I will get a link to everybody that is a cash offer member. If you're not a member, I see a bunch of you in the chat. Nicole, what do they need to do for that? What do they go to? I know if they go to that yellow button at the top of the member site,
at the very top of the members website, there's a yellow button, Agent Success Programs. Click in there, you'll see the cash offer program option, and that'll tell you more about it.
Yeah, and all the calls are recorded, like we do them live, but the recording goes on the member site. But that's specifically for cash offer members. I think it's $199 a month for Inner Circle members only. It's an additional $199. Can't get it unless you are a member. So, and that's me buying properties all over the damn place. So hopefully this has been of service to you today. We'll have a lot more as I go through all the questions. I'm sure we'll have a part 2, part 3, part 4. I will get this up for everyone. As I saw in the chat here, share it, share it, share it. Get it to everybody so we can teach agents the right way and we can come out of this doing a great job for our clients, feeling good about what we do, and keeping that solid relationship we're looking to have with them. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye for now.